What's up guys, Sebastian here, and welcome to my third milestone video. We did it! The basic stage of the project has been finished. This week I completed the integration of the controller in the Unity game, and the finalization of the UI and visual elements of the base game. Night Attack, as I've named it, is finished in its simplest form. Going over the accomplishments of the week, I've started by reorganizing my Arduino code. Before I could actually send data to Unity, I needed to make sure that my Arduino controller would send the data properly. So I created a method that would organize the data into a clear line made up of rotation, X, Y, and Z, translation, X, Y, and Z, and joystick, X, Y, and the button press when you click down on the joystick. Now, once I organized this, what the controller was printing out, I turned my eyes to Unity and began working on receiving data from the Arduino. First, I loaded the Unity asset called Artity, which took care of receiving data from the serial monitor of my Arduino and then being able to read that out in Unity. Then, I wrote a script which would break up the data and interpret it as values, which I could use in my Unity game. I found, for example, that while my Arduino joystick was printing X and Y values between 0 and 1023, I needed a value between -1 and 1. In the case of the joystick with 0 to 1023, 0 would be you're tilting your joystick to the left on the x-axis, and 1023 would be I'm tilting it right on the x-axis. And I needed it to be -1 and 1. So I wrote a function that normalized the data into this range. Something similar had to also be done for the accelerometer data because the raw data wasn't being expressed in angles for the rotation and in proper motion, centimeters of motion as you would actually have it for a normal accelerometer. So I had to convert that and just kind of divide it by, what was it, like 126 or something. I had to divide it by a certain amount so that it would actually fit into a proper frame for my game. Once the interpretation process was done, though, I implemented the inputs into my movement and animation scripts. While the joystick motion was pretty easy to implement, just kind of -1 and 1, it's the same thing as in Unity for the WASD for the keyboard. Using the data from the accelerometer was a bit more challenging. To detect the swing, for example, I had to make a condition that required a certain amount of acceleration to have been undergone for a swing to have been registered, and a condition that the Arduino had to be rotated a specific amount on a certain angle so that I could then determine what type of swing it is. So I first off determined, is it being, like, how fast is it moving, and second off, if it's moving at a certain speed, how much has it been rotated, and if it's been rotated a certain amount, I can determine which swing it is. And in this case, whatever angle it is would determine the type of swing I have. Once the swing had been registered, the player character would run the swing animation in that direction. With this completed, the game was essentially fully integrated with my controller. I could do whatever I wanted and it would work fine. So then what I did from there on out is I spent a bit of time working on the user interface elements like menus, like the health bar, for the pillar and all that, and the menu for exit and restarting the game. And then finally I also had an opening menu designed so that when you launch the game, it will open up here where it'll connect to your controller, and you can click to exit or you can click to play a game. Alright, so this is now how the game looks like. It is essentially the basic premise of the game. There's a pillar in the center of this area. You, as the player, have to defend the pillar from oncoming attacking knights, and you have to prevent yourself from dying in the process. You do this, you fight, in which you essentially swing your arms, as you would see in this clip here. I swing my arms, and based off of how I swing it, it will make a respective swing of the sword, and I will be able to fight that way. I use a joystick to run around, and yeah, that's how it currently looks like. When I started this project, I was interested in learning about how hardware components can be implemented in software, specifically more smaller electronics like for controllers. And after having completed this project, I've actually found that while working with electronics and hardware is very difficult, It is very interesting, fun, and a very important factor when learning to understand the inner workings of software and games. Because if you don't really understand how these things actually provide you with the data, it's oftentimes more difficult to be able to properly attribute this data into your games. To finish this off, I would like to thank all of BlueStamp, Jesse, and my instructor Gavri for all the help that they've given me throughout this entire project. I've learned a lot throughout this experience, and I can't wait to see what I can accomplish next because of what I've learned here. Thank you.